Hello, this is Mrs. Coffee. We are going to do an experiment called Physical Change Play-Doh. And you will need to pull up the CAMI form for the recording sheet in order to fill out this information as we do the experiment together. So our question that we're going to be examining today is, will the ball of Play-Doh weigh more, less, or the same than a design that we make out of the ball of Play-Doh? So we did watch this video already in Study Jams, and it's called Matter or Changes of Matter. So that should have helped you give some idea of whether this is a physical or a chemical change, because that will make a difference in the results. Next, I want you to think about making a prediction or forming a hypothesis. So first I'm going to show you what I mean by a ball of dough and a shape that we make out of dough. So you know Play-Doh comes in a little container like this. And if I take the container and I open it up, I can take out the dough and make it into a ball of dough. This is a brand new one, so it's pretty sticky still. So I'm just going to pull as much out as I can of the dough. And then I'm going to form it into a ball. All right, so now I've got my Play-Doh and I made it into roughly a ball shape. And then I'm going to put it on our scale and find out how much it weighs. And we're going to record that data on page 2 of our worksheet. And then I'm going to make something out of the dough. I don't know how to make a lot of stuff out of dough. You could probably come up with something more creative, but I'm just going to make a little snail. So after I make the snail, we're going to put the snail back on the scale and see how much the snail weighs. So I'm using all of the dough to make a snail. So now that you understand what the experiment is, I want you to go ahead and make your prediction. So at the top where it says form a hypothesis, I want you to write, if I weigh the Play-Doh as a ball or as a snail shape. Oops, I forgot a letter there. I wrote shape, which doesn't make any sense. Shape. There we go. I think they will. And then this is where I want you to write, will they weigh the same? Will the ball weigh more, or will the snail shape weigh more? And then tell me why you think that. So the part in yellow, you have to do your own thinking. And remember, when we're writing a hypothesis or forming a prediction, it doesn't have to be right. It is okay if you end up with results that do not support your hypothesis. That's why we're doing the experiment, to find out the answer to the question. This is our best guess. And we don't know the results until we try it. All right, so next we're going to actually conduct the experiment. So we're going to need a tray, and that's my gold tray here. It's just a circle. And that's what I just happen to have at home. We're going to have a ball of Play-Doh, like so, and a scale, which is right here. And then steps, get a tray and a ball of Play-Doh. Okay, we did that. Weigh the ball of Play-Doh on the scale. Okay, so I'm going to set the Play-Doh on the scale, and it says it's 3.840. So we're going to round that to 3.8. So I'm going to write that on the next page. All right, so you should write 3.8 grams under the weight for the ball of Play-Doh. Okay, and then it says create a new design with the Play-Doh by making a physical change and weigh the results. Record the measurement on the data table. All right, so now I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to make it into the shape of a snail. You'll just have to bear with me because I'm sure it will be sad, sad, sad looking. All right, so here is a nice long worm, and I'm just going to make this into a little snail shape. All right, so now we changed the shape of the dough. So I want you to think to yourself, is it still dough? Is it still Play-Doh? It's just in a different shape. Or is it a new substance? Because if it's a new substance, then we know that that would be a chemical change. But if it's the same substance and we could reverse the change and put it back into a ball of Play-Doh, then you're pretty certain that this would be a physical change. And we know that a physical change results in a difference in mass of 0. So there is no change in mass when we just change an object's shape or size. So we should find that our snail weighs the same as the ball of Play-Doh. It might be like a fraction of a gram less, because sometimes the Play-Doh sticks to your hands and then you lose a little bit of the weight because the Play-Doh is now on my hand instead of on the snail. So I guess I'll have to lay him down. All right, so now if you look at our weight, now that it's a snail, it weighs the same, 3.840. So I didn't actually lose any weight by making it into a snail. It was exactly the same. So we're going to write that number on page 2. Like this. So our Play-Doh design number 1 is 3.8. And the difference between the weight of the ball of Play-Doh and the design that you made out of Play-Doh is 0. We're only doing one design today because you are not working in groups. When I do this in class with my students, I let everybody that's in your group make their own design and try it out. But what we find out is that every time it will weigh the same. Whatever design you make. So last year I had some students make hydro flasks and Birkenstocks and some funny things that were Visco Girl things, and they were pretty funny. So the students are really creative and make different things. But if I put this back into a ball, again, what do you think? Is it going to weigh the same, or is it going to weigh a different amount? I think it's going to weigh the same because it's a physical change. So let's check. Look, it weighs the same, 3.84. So whatever shape you make it into, it's going to weigh the same. So that's kind of a nifty little experiment. Now we need to write what we learned. So under analyze your data, well, first, actually, we need to back up a step. I want you to draw our experiment. So you should use these words as a word bank to help you label your picture. So you should have a tray. You can make yours look fancier. It does have a little rope design and a second little circle if you want it to be fancy. And then that's where I had my ball of Play-Doh and my little container of Play-Doh that was on my tray. So that's what I drew in my picture. And then I weighed the snail on the scale. And we found out, and I could add that data here, that it weighed 3.8 grams. Okay, so then we're going to look at our data. So it says, what are the results of the experiment? What did you find out? So in this section, I want you to write, no matter what you build, the Play-Doh design will weigh the same as the ball of dough. That is what we found out. And then I'm going to put that my hypothesis was correct. And the data shows that this was a physical change. It was a change in shape, which is reversible. So it's going to weigh the same before and after the change. That's it. Hope you enjoyed this experiment.